Pittsburgh Baptist Church. I'm coming to you from my bunker in the north. I got all my preparations for phase 1. I've been listening to the news and I am ready to go. Alright, Pittsburgh Baptist Church. We've been hearing a lot of news that's supposedly the truth. Some of it is on one side, some of it's on the other. But the interesting thing about the truth when it comes to the world, this truth brings no hope. And for me, I need two things for truth. You need maybe two, maybe you need just one. For me, I need my glasses and I need my Bible. The Bible is the truth. And the difference between the truth that we hear in the Bible and the truth we're hearing in the news is that the truth in the Bible gives us hope. And you need to be getting into your Bible maybe more so you can be getting some more hope. We're going to continue in Samuel. It's an exciting story. We're in chapter 3 of Samuel. A couple things just to give you a little background on what's been going on. I'd ask you, why did Eli ask Samuel, tell me everything? And if you remember, in chapter 1, you had a family, had Hannah especially. There's someone that was wanting to serve the Lord. There was a good family. They went with a good heart. They were offering their sin offering, their peace offerings. They seem to be following the traditions well, but they seem to also be wanting to follow God. The rest of Shiloh wasn't like that. If you remember, it said the word of the Lord was rare in those days. Shiloh was not a great place, even though that's where the Ark of the Covenant was. That's where God said, I will sit here and speak to you. And yet if you look at what's going on, the nation is falling away. It did slowly. They fell away slowly. They fell away because there were other things that were more important. There were other things they needed to do. And it started off with a small step. They were just too busy. And then from being too busy, they just hardened their heart. Their heart got harder because they just didn't have a heart for the Lord. They started in small steps. First you look, then you walk. And then before you know it, you're sitting. And that would be from Psalm 1. Sin's that way. It's incremental. You don't just jump right into that deep, far sin. Unfortunately, we all walk away slowly from the Lord. Shiloh had walked away from the Lord. They were not following the Lord. And Eli and his sons, Hophni and Phinehas, they were terrible. Eli wasn't bad, but Eli didn't do anything about his sons. His sons were taking the offerings, and it was an atrocity what they were doing with the Lord's offering. It was not a good sight. Things had to change. God had been long-suffering. He had allowed them to continue on in their ways, and on they went further and further away from the Lord. And then this one family had a woman that had no children, and she had a child, Samuel, her firstborn child, and dedicated him to the Lord. And you can see that Samuel served the Lord. And it said Samuel did not know the Lord's voice. If you looked in chapter 2, Eli's sons, Hophni and Phinehas, did not know the Lord. But they're not knowing the Lord. They didn't serve God. Samuel served the Lord. But the thing I find most interesting, the word of the Lord was rare in those days, but in chapter 2, a man of God came to Eli, and he prophesied that his sons would die in the same day, that the priestly line through Aaron would be taken away from Eli. And you're going to see he's going to be given to Samuel. So we want to go into Samuel. We're in chapter 3 of Samuel. And in chapter 3, we're in verse 11. The Lord speaks to Samuel. He speaks to him and he stands with Samuel. And he says, behold, in verse 11, I will do something in Israel at which both ears and everyone who hears it will tingle. You know, we usually think of tingling as, this is a good thing. Oh man, I'm so excited. It's not what it means. I think terrify might have been a better word than tingle. And they'll hear it and they will become terrified. Kind of like the news we're hearing right now. The news is, oh my goodness, everybody's going to die and you've got to wear masks, you've got to wear spacesuits. Be careful. Be wise. But the news we're hearing is kind of like making our ears tingle. It's terrifying us. It's bringing us fear. But God has a plan here. God's calling Samuel. And Samuel, he's going to talk through Samuel. And if you read through this chapter, you're going to see he's going to use Samuel. He has a man of God, and he's going to bring his word to the people. God was never to be silent. God had no intention of not being with his people. God had the ark, which was his physical presence on earth, if you could say that God has a presence like that. He doesn't. God is he's beyond that. He's above us. He's everywhere. He's not in everything. He created everything. God knows all things. But here, the people are so hardened in Shiloh that they're going to have the ark removed when you see later on. They're going to be bringing the word of the Lord through a little boy who served the Lord, did small things. He kept doing small steps. It's interesting, following the Lord in small steps is sort of like how we sin in small steps a lot of times. We step away one step at a time. When we finally look back, we're miles away, but we did it one step at a time. Couldn't we take one step at a time to draw closer to him? The reason that I'd ask the question, why did Eli say, Samuel, tell me everything, do not hold back anything? Why did I say that? Well, you see here, Samuel gets up in the morning, he opens the doors to where they were, where they had the Ark of the Covenant separated by a veil. He didn't go running in and go tell him, hey, God talked to me, man, wait till you hear what happens. That's not what Samuel did. Samuel was still serving the Lord. Eli had to come to him and say, tell me what the Lord said. Don't hold anything back. And Eli said, well, tell me. Now Eli's thinking, a man of God's already told me. What did God tell you, Samuel? Samuel doesn't know that. And Samuel says, Eli, it's going to be a tough time for you and your sons. God is not pleased. God's not pleased with this. And Eli told the sons, when you sin against man, you can turn to God for forgiveness. When you sin against God, who are you going to turn to? See, in this section here, Samuel laid down until morning. If you take a look at this. And Samuel was afraid to tell Eli his vision. And then Eli called Samuel, said, my son, here I am. See his servant heart? Samuel's still serving you. Here I am. Yes, Eli? Yes, Lord? And then interesting, when he answered the Lord, he said, here I am, your servant. Take a look at that. That's interesting. And Samuel, in verse 10, he grew, and the Lord was with him in verse 19. And none of his words fall to the ground. Whatever he told Samuel, it happened. And Samuel served the Lord, and he grew. And Samuel was established. And the people knew that the Lord was with Samuel. He knew the Lord was with Samuel, and it had to have been because of his actions. So my question this week to you is, and it's rhetorical, you don't have to answer me and call me about this one, but are you too busy? Are you allowing the news to bring you fear? Are you serving the Lord where you are? Are you helping your neighbors? Are you calling somebody that you haven't talked to that came to mind and just tell them, I'm thinking about you. You okay? You doing all right? Are you serving the Lord? That's something we need to consider. In this time, there's people with a lot of fear. We have the truth that brings hope. This is it, right here, the Bible. There are people that need this. There are people that need hope. The news is not bringing hope. The news is bringing fear. Whether it's true, not true, be wise. But you need to realize this is what brings hope. The Bible is what's going to bring hope. And it took a little boy for God to use to turn a nation to him. Maybe that's you. Maybe you're the one that he's going to use to turn a city. I don't know. Do you think Samuel was thinking, I'm going to turn the whole nation of Israel back to the Lord? No. He's just going to serve the Lord, keeping a candle lit, sweeping a floor. Boy, big tasks, weren't they? No, they were little steps. Take the little steps. Take time with the Lord. Make the Lord your priority. Don't walk away. We do it all the time. I do it. I get distracted, whether I'm in the yard, whether I'm working. It doesn't matter. I get distracted in following the Lord. Help me not get distracted, and don't you get distracted either. Serve the Lord where you are, in the little things. The Lord is pleased with that. Serve Him. Serve your neighbors. Help them. Till next time, Pittsburgh Baptist Church, I can't wait to see you. Bye-bye.